When was the last time Oprah actually spent time hanging out with a working class person in America? She's on her Montecito estate with one of the most beautiful mansions known to man. And that is why she did not follow up with Kamala Harris in response to that stupid gun question with, well, you're on camera saying that you favor mandatory gun buybacks. So how would that work? The Oprah enthusiasm worked when it was genuine.
Shortly after the Oscars, a 3.9 magnitude earthquake rocked LA. The tremors were so powerful, Oprah's ass is still moving. Why would you laugh at that? That's fat shamers.
Remember when Oprah was untouchable, the undisputed queen of couch confessions, book clubs, and surprise car giveaways? Well, Gutfeld and Megyn Kelly just shattered that pedestal. Gutfeld showed up swinging with sarcasm sharp enough to shred a vision board, while Kelly delivered her signature ice-cold precision, turning Oprah from media mogul into a walking motivational meme. What did they expose? Let's just say the empire isn't as flawless as it looks.
Hit the scene in like the 1980s, and she was fresh out of Chicago. She was in Chicago for the launch of her national talk show. She was something electric and interesting and authentic, you know? I miss fat Oprah. She was just genuine. Now this thin Ozempic Oprah has lost, along with the pounds, her heart, her sense of authenticity. And what we're getting these days is this cleansed, elite, billionaire version who wants to scrub the record of facts.
It's true, the Harris interview did feel like a very special episode of Oprah, but instead of everybody getting a new car, everybody got an aneurysm.
Oprah once stood in a room full of billionaires and declared that being rich is hard, and somehow not one person laughed her off the stage. That moment alone deserved a Comedy Lifetime Achievement Award. But here she is again, the high priestess of privilege, sipping from her diamond-studded chalice and preaching humility like she's slumming it with the rest of us. After decades of packaging self-help fantasies in gold foil, you'd think she'd retreat to her curated Mount Olympus. But Oprah's still here, still peddling enlightenment. And now she's managed to push both Gutfeld and Kelly into a tag team takedown powered by sarcasm and zero patience.
We had a week of women getting up there and trying to get us to feel sorry for them. To Oprah, literally one of the richest people, forget women, one of the richest people on earth, and talk about, in part, the misogyny and racism she's faced from the country that made her a 2.6.
Because when Oprah speaks, birds cry, flowers bloom, and stock markets allegedly tremble, at least according to her fan base. But lately, her spiritual TED Talks feel like parodies. She's selling the American dream in a $900 moisturizer bottle, launching wellness programs priced like Ivy League tuition. Oprah has evolved into a brand of contradiction, slurry wisdom with a sprinkle of delusion.
Oprah's list of favorite things. So Oprah released her annual list of favorite things, and as usual, there are lots of expensive stuff. $1,000 pizza oven, $590 drip coffee maker, $80 of luxury salt. Sadly, no proposal from Stedman.
Enter Megyn Kelly, armed with her trademark I'm Sedone squint and years of media battle scars. She carved through the Empress of Empathy with surgical snark. And you could practically hear Hollywood's Botox freeze when she did. Oprah used to hand out cars, now she delivers existential crises gift trapped in sponsorship deals. She's crossed the threshold into self-parody, and Kelly called it
over this first to make sure it wasn't too extravagant.
You're missing the best one.
What?
Okay, it is a little journal, and it's called I'm Dead, Now What? Important information on my belongings, business affairs, and wishes. Hand this to someone at Christmas, I dare you.
Meanwhile, Gutfeld skipped the scalpel and went straight for the verbal sledgehammer. His tone WWE promo. His energy like someone just discovered Oprah's charging for $100 for a gratitude journal. This is the same woman who built an empire on tears and talk show snow, lecturing the struggling middle class on how suffering is something to be thankful for. Subtle, she is not.
Who, unlike traditional politicians, could match a wild card like Donald Trump. And if she won, she could give everyone a free car. And how different is that really from most?
It's almost cute how Oprah still thinks we forgot. This is the same woman who turned her show into a self-help cathedral, selling the fantasy that pain could be cured in 30 minutes with a soft voice. And commercial breaks, Oprah doesn't relate. To poverty, she curates it, packages it, profits off it, and Megyn Kelly wasn't buying the act. Watching Oprah play relatable in 2025 is like watching a Kardashian explain crop rotation. The disconnect isn't just wit, it's intergalactic. This is a woman who travels with a team of chefs, stylists, energy healers, and probably a backup yacht for emotional emergencies. But sure, tell us more about resilience. Oprah once said people should just be themselves, an inspiring message. From someone who hasn't been herself since the Clinton administration. She's now a brand with a legal team for her face and a production crew for her lighting. Authenticity Oprostal is a multi-million-dollar shoot complete with fragrance. Line.
Affectations and body movements. Like, okay, ready? Here it is. Like, okay. She raises herself off her chair. Like, I'm just really excited. I'm really excited about this. Okay.
You're so right.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something you haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Okay. Right, like that.
Right.
Gutfeld had a field day, tearing into Oprah like she just launched Cali-flavored oxygen. He mocked the woman who once claimed to be just a girl from Mississippi, now living in a mansion so massive it probably has its own climate. You can't preach simplicity when your backyard has a vineyard and your gardening team is named after Greek gods. But the real kicker, Oprah's latest humanitarian documentary. She dives into the struggles of the downtrodden with a full camera crew, a makeup squad, and enough lighting to reshoot Avengers Endgame. There's a unique tone deafness to standing outside a homeless shelter in a $5,000 coat, discussing suffering, like it's the latest interior design trend. Megyn Kelly didn't flinch towards the emotional exploitation like it was a cheesy script. Oprah wasn't raising awareness, she was producing it. Grief became content, suffering turned into a backdrop, and she was the carefully lit star of it all.
The failure of the celebrity. Oprah Winfrey, you have no power. You do not have any control over this electorate. Neither do you, J-Lo. Let's take a look at Oprah's final closing message on the campaign trail.
We don't get to sit this one out. If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. We are voting to save ourselves from this precipice of...
Even her donations come with fine print. I'm here to help. She says right before slipping in a brand mention. Oprah doesn't donatesh monetizes. She doesn't support causesh licenses them. Every tragedy she visits turns into a polished PR rollout. Gutfeld tore into this like he was deboning a fish. He joked that Oprah's idea of outreach is flying first class to a disaster zone and charging for the audiobook afterward, and he's not wrong. The whole thing reeks of Hollywood sanctimony. Nothing screams I care like stepping over rubble. In designer heels while someone reapplies your lip gloss, Oprah built an empire on emotion. And she conducts those emotions like Mozart played piano, except her symphony is pain. And the encore is always profit. She's turned empathy into a streaming service algorithm, elegant, relentless, and wildly profitable.
At this list, and you know what wasn't on there? Anything about Maui, right? At one point in time, she and The Rock made that video to try to help out everybody who was hurt by the fire. And then that was just quickly discarded. She's like, okay, that didn't work. Who wants slippers? You want slippers. You get a pair of slippers. You're all getting slippers.
Do you think she was...
But Megyn wasn't finished. She came with receipts like it was Black Friday. She tore through Oprah's contradictions like wrapping paper, preaches balance, runs an empire bigger than a hedge fund, sells self-love, markets insecurity. It's a spiritual hustle in silk. Gutfeld piled on saying Oprah's book club should be renamed Required Reading. For immediate emotional collapse, each pick is either a trauma memoir, a philosophical lecture, or a soul sick so heavy you need therapy afterward. But it's all dressed up as enlightenment, as if emotional exhaustion is noble. And then there's her political dabbling. Oprah's endorsements have all the commitment of a horoscope. Vague, non-committal, and somehow still influential. She wades into politics like she's testing bathwater, just enough to look involved, never enough to get wet. Meanwhile, true activists are ignored because they don't have a fragrance line. Megyn obliterated the illusion, calling out Oprah's activism for what it is, branding with a conscience she doesn't stand for. Change-ish. Floats near it, wearing pearls.
Like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came and I was like, oh my God, she is not a reporter. She's a propagandist. She's trying to shove messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not.
And then there's Oprah's obsession with dieting, rebirth, and reinvention like she's a gluten-free phoenix every few years. She announces a spiritual awakening, usually bundled with supplements and a documentary trilogy Gutfeld didn't hold back. He said Oprah's entire brand is a constant reboot of her personality on moment she's a weight loss warrior, the next a soul healer. And then suddenly she's moderating racial roundtables with the subtlety of a cereal box quote. She reinvents herself more often than most people update their Wi-Fi passwords, yet somehow insists she's just like us. As if the average person's spiritual break includes a private chef calling in sick. Watching her pretend to struggle is exhausting. Her idea of roughing it probably involves a hotel not having eucalyptus mist. Kelly carved through this charade like branded vegan butter, reminding everyone Oprah's hardships are airbrushed, her pain is pre-packaged, and her struggle comes with a backing track and custom lighting.
Salt, you got cheese, you got pizza.
Greg, I'm going to stop you there.
Yes.
I treat this like the list I get from my kids. They send me emails because they know when I laugh in their face, it hurts. Anyone who wants a $1,000 pizza oven, you're gonna get what Kat picked out. Like, that's the greatest gift you can give somebody because you can't return it. Because returning it, oh, you think you're immortal? You think you're better than us? Like, get your affairs in order. That's the great, you stole the show. They wanted me to talk about a dog towel. That is, towel's a towel. Great job, that's the best gift ever, and Oprah has never read this, just like I don't read the list.
Still, Oprah continues to brand herself as the voice of the peoply billionaire with underdog delusions. That's like Jeff Bezos saying he relates to warehouse workers. Because he once read a Reddit post, Gutfeld landed the final blow. Oprah isn't empowering anyone, she's selling empowerment in a pastel box wrapped in affirmations. She's a master of saying nothing while sounding profound. It's all tone, no meaning, all glitter, no grit, and the cruelest irony, people keep buying it. Millions cling to her every aha like scripture, forgetting there's a product launch behind every quote. Oprah isn't a movement, she's a market, less leader, more lifestyle. Megyn and Greg didn't dismantle Oprah out of malice, they did it out of sheer exhaustion. Because watching her play Mother Earth while collecting corporate checks is like sitting through a movie sequel that doesn't realize the story ended a decade ago.
Cheating. It's a drug that helps people control their appetite. How is that cheating? So she was probably on the wrong side of things when she was saying that. And now I think she was sort of forced to admit, because as you say, it's obvious. Somebody like Oprah who's constantly up and down with the weight and hasn't been on the skinnier side for a long time. And then suddenly, after this miracle drug comes out, like, we know. But she's still a spokesperson for Weight Watchers, and I guess she's going to still tell us that the point system is really what's behind.
So the next time Oprah tells you to embrace the journey, remember her journey includes personal chefs, on-call therapists, and filters strong enough to resurrect Cleopatra for most people. The journey is just trying to make rent before their next existential meltdown. But don't worry, she's probably got a $30 book recommendation for that. Plus shipping. The genius of Oprah's game is how she cloaks luxury in language of struggle. It's practically performance art. She doesn't wash floats, trailing camera crews, and herbal mist. Her empathy is always perfectly lit, her compassion scheduled between fittings. She could host a summit on pain from her infinity pool and still insist she feels yours. Kelly's takedown wasn't just critique, it was an unmasking. And Gutfeld, he tore down the velvet walls with one punchline after another. One woman lounges in a chaise pitching resilience, the rest of us are dodging bills and potholes. Yet we're still supposed to take notes. Oprah's sermons feel like echoes from a wine cellar, expensive, insulated, and completely out of touch. This isn't motivation, it's melodrama and Laubautens. And the most surreal part, Oprah still thinks she's relative, like her next door neighbor isn't a hedge fund.